Hello, and welcome back to the Ninox Learning Series. My name is Andy Marks. I'm a Ninox trainer and programmer. And in this class, we're going to start working with numeric fields as we continue building the data model for our custom CRM, Customer Relationship Management System. If you watched the previous video working with text fields, you already have a database on your desktop called My Custom CRM. If you're just joining us for the first time, go ahead and open up Ninox, either the desktop application or the cloud version, and find the white box with the plus sign over the words New Database, and go ahead and click on that box. Click on the option New in the top left-hand corner and start with a new and empty database and name it My Custom CRM with the letter CRM and the word My in all caps. Now, click Create Database. If you already have a MyCRM database from the last video, go ahead and open it up now, and we should all be at the desktop. Now, if you're continuing from the previous class, you already have a customers table on your screen. If you're just getting started tonight, your screen will look like mine. You'll have a new table option, and if you're in administrative mode, with the wrench in the top right-hand corner glowing red, you'll have import data and export data options, along with the button pod that appears just above those buttons. Now, you should be in administrative mode. Now remember, administrative mode means we want to work on our database. And to work on our database, we need tools, and the tool we need is our wrench. This is the official Ninox wrench. You can grab your wrench in the top right-hand corner of your screen. And you know you're in administrative mode when that wrench is glowing red. If your wrench is not glowing red but appears gray, click on it one time with the mouse until it glows red, and then click on New Table. Now, this is going to be a company table, so we're going to name it Companies. And the icon image that I want to associate with this table is this factory building right down here on the left-hand side. Let's go ahead and click on the factory building. We're not going to do anything with triggers quite yet, but we are going to set up some fields. Let's very quickly remember what we did last time in setting up our text fields. We click and hold and drag and drop. Click and hold, drag and drop 1, 2 text fields. And name the first text field Operating Name. Repeat the process for naming the field for text field number 2 and name it Legal Name. And go ahead and drag over 3 more text fields. 1, 2, 3. And name them Address Line 1, Address Line 2, and City. Now, as we move further and further into the Ninox Learning Series, things are going to start moving a little bit quicker. At this point in the series, I'm going to go ahead and assume that you know how to get into administrative mode, open up this window, the Ninox Table Management Tools window, and create new fields or build that data model. If you're not comfortable doing these things, go back and review the previous video working with text fields, and you might even want to check out the video building my first table. Let's continue. We need one more text field, and we're going to name this one State or Province. And now we need a couple of those numeric fields. Let's grab 2 numeric fields. The numeric field that's highlighted, number field number 2, let's name this one Number of Employees. And then that other number field is going to complete the address block that we need. So we're going to select the first number field that we created. And we select it by highlighting it, just moving our cursor so it's hovering over the first number field. And we see the blue line. And click one time. And replace the field name number with the words zip code or mail code, or whatever is appropriate for your particular part of the world. Click OK. Now again, to refresh the memory, we are building the data model. We have used 6 text fields and 2 numeric fields. Let's quickly go look at the properties and the configuration options for these numeric fields. Select either one, zip code or number of employees, and open up the properties window. You should see 1, 2, 3 and the word number at the top, and your screen should look pretty much like mine. If your options are open, that's fine, don't worry about it. Field name is number of employees. This field is not required, so we will leave the no in place. The default value is going to be 1. We do not expect to be doing business with companies that have 0 employees. At the very least, it would be a solo entrepreneur. So we're going to make sure that the content of the number of employees field is never less than 1. And we're going to ensure that by having a minimum of 1, and we don't really need a maximum because we can do business with companies of any size. But if we wanted to limit the range at both the low and the high end, we could go ahead and put in a maximum value, which would restrict data into this numeric field as nothing greater than the max. Right now, we're simply going to set a minimum value, which means Ninox will not accept data into this numeric field that is less than a minimum value of 1. Now, for our number format, since we are counting employees, we don't need any digits to the right of the decimal point. We're dealing in whole numbers. So we can go ahead and click 0 digits or select the second box in the top row, 1023. And that will be an acceptable format for us. And let's go ahead and click OK. Now, I also want to go back and take a look at some of these other text fields and make sure they're set up the way we want them to be. Specifically, the state and province field. Here we have a minimum length and a maximum length. This is a little bit different than the numeric field that simply had a min or a max. When working with numeric fields in Ninox, Ninox does not count the characters. It evaluates the value of the string. For example, the string 1000 would be evaluated as the number 1000. The fact that there are 4 characters in the string is at this point irrelevant. However, when working with text fields, the letters do not have a numeric value, so we can set a minimum length or a maximum length. However, tonight we're working with numbers, so we're just going to leave things the way they are. Let's go ahead and save our changes. And let's now click on companies to open up that table. The default process in Ninox when opening a brand new table is you will have a single view created by default. That view will be called All. And in this case, or in all cases with new tables, it'll be empty. No data, contents whatsoever. Go ahead and click on the plus sign that you see in the leftmost column just before you creep over into the sidebar. Click on this to create a new record. Now again, a quick review from last week. We've got all of these fields on the screen and they're appearing in the order that we do want them to appear. Fields will appear in form view. We are now in form view in the same order that they appear when we build our data model. However, these fields are not the right size. While still in administrative mode with the wrench in our hand, let's select the fields, starting with operating name, and let's skinny that up, actually just about that big. And let's make the legal name the same size. Drag it all the way to the left, and then go right 2 more spots. The address line, make it as narrow as possible, and do the same with address line 2. Now, watch what happens when we skinny down or make narrower the city field. Ninox has a grid layout system when we are building our user interface, which means fields placed in the grid, fields placed on the form, will move to the next available spot. Now, if you look at the space available to the right of address line 2, clearly it's not big enough for the city field as the city field is now. But go ahead and select the city field, red line around it, wrench in the middle of it, grab the right side sizing box, click and hold, and slowly drag to the left. As soon as the width of the city field fits in the space that was left over in that first row, it will pop right into position. Once it's popped into position, leave it just like that. Grab the state province field, minimize it to its absolute narrowest position. Do the same with zip code and number of employees. Now, your screen should look pretty close to mine. Operating name, legal name, 2 address lines in the city field in the top row, the state field, the zip code or mail code field, and the number of employees field in the second row, and the right edge of number of employees should line up perfectly with the right edge of legal name. Go ahead and take a minute, size your fields, and make sure your screen looks the way mine does in the video. Now, if we want to go in and revisit the properties of the field, and I'm going to do this again, we hover our mouse and click once until we see the wrench. We click once on the wrench, and this will reopen the number properties window. The default value is 1, the minimum value is 1, no max, and the number format is whole numbers only. Now, it's kind of redundant to set a default value and a minimum value, and I want to show you something cool in Ninox anyway. So go ahead and select that default value of 1 and remove it so the default value field is blank, and click OK. Click anywhere in the gray area to deselect the number of employees field, save your changes, and click on the wrench to put it away. Your screen, again, should look pretty much like mine. Now, find the plus sign in the top right-hand area of your screen. It will be left of the wrench and just next to the duplicate record icon. Click on that plus sign that has the hover help create record. Okay, now with our new blank record on screen, let's go back into administrative mode. Let's grab our wrench. Go ahead and give this blank record, give this company an operating name. I'm going to call it maybe Smith Brothers Limited. The legal name is the Smith Brothers Company. And go ahead and give it an address of your choosing. Let's put it on 1234 Main Street, building number 2. Let's go ahead and put this in, what's a good city? How about San Antonio and Texas? We now come to our next numeric field. Now I want you to notice something. Let's go back and put our cursor in the state or province field. I don't want to select the field. I want to put the cursor in the data entry section of the field. So in this case, I'm going to point to the field. I will see the red highlight, but I'm going to click in the white area that currently contains the name of the state or province we just assigned. Notice that when we enter data into text fields, it will automatically align to the far left of the field. As we see with the names, the address, city, and state line. However, in numeric fields, the data content will be pushed all the way to the right. So let's go back to zip code or mail code and go ahead and enter the appropriate number of digits given the country where you live and given the appropriate mail code nomenclature. Go ahead and give it a mail code, and let's go to number of employees. Now, let's go ahead and type 0, and let's tab off of that screen. And we all of a sudden see the number of employees field glowing red. Why is that? Because, and we see this with the corrective help, not the hover help, the corrective help is Ninox telling us that this is an unacceptable value. It is too small. Remember, we set the minimum value as 1. Now let's go click on that 0 and use the delete key to remove it and click in the gray area anywhere outside the number of employees. The field is now null. It has no contents whatsoever. When you set a minimum or a maximum value for a numeric field, be advised that null, no entry at all, is still an acceptable value. If you put in any value, however, if the field is not to remain null, the value must be greater than or equal to the minimum and less than or equal to the maximum. Let's say we have 10 employees in this company, which is certainly above the minimum of 1, and we set no maximum. Again, remember, setting a min and a max only will impact data entry when data has been entered. If a user skips the field entirely and makes no entry, the field will remain blank, which for numeric fields could be construed as 0. Let's correct that problem. Go ahead and select the number employees field. This time we're going to select the field. We're not going to click in the white space, which is the data entry section. We're going to click one time with our mouse on the name of the field until the wrench appears, and we're going to click on the wrench. Leave a minimum of 1 as our default value, but change required to yes. Click OK, and in the right-hand corner at the top, save your changes. Let's create another new record. Go ahead and hit that plus sign, and once again, we're now going to be looking at a blank screen, a blank record in form view, but the number of employees field is already glowing red. This is the difference between a blank null field and a field containing a value that is or is not within acceptable range. Now, we saw a moment ago that a field with a minimum value of 1 would accept no entry at all. Here we see something entirely different. A moment ago, the corrective help said the value was too small. Now it's telling us you must put something into this field. Now, if we try and put something less than 1, helps if you put it in the right field, then it will tell us again that the value is too small. So not only is it going to ensure that we put in a value that is within the correct range, greater than the min, smaller than the max, but it is going to make sure that we don't leave the field blank by making it a required field. Again, I'll put in 10 employees. Let's very quickly return to the field properties window. Required means there must be a value in the field. A null or no entry is not going to be an acceptable response. The default value simply puts something into that field automatically every time a new record is created. Min and max are numeric values that define the lowest and highest value that will be accepted in the field. And the number format, let's do a few things with number format. Let's go ahead and create another number field. This time, instead of going into our table management window, let's just go over to the toolbox pod on the left-hand side of our screen, click plus field, and click one time on number. Remember I told you a moment ago, Ninox will park every field in the next available space. The next available space in this screen was just to the right of number employees and beneath the two address lines. It's fine there, but it's too big. So grab that sizing bar, that sizing block on the right, and drag it to the left so this number field is the same width as the address line field. Double click on the word number and replace the default field label with the words estimated, abbreviated EST, annual sales volume, and click anywhere outside the field itself to accept that. Go ahead and save your changes. And click again outside the field itself in any part of the gray area to deselect the field. Now, we have created a field that is expecting a currency value. So we are now going to make sure that any number put into this field is presented in the proper context, has the proper label, whether it be a prefix or a suffix, so we know what it is. Let's go into estimated annual sales volume. Let's select the data entry portion and type the numbers 1,500,000. Now the question is 1,500,000 what? What is the unit of measure? Let's select the estimated annual sales volume, go back into the properties table and click on number format. There are 4 currency formats available by default in Ninox: the American dollar, the euro, the yen, and the British pound. The American dollar and the British pound have a prefix to the left of the leftmost digit. Euro and yen have a suffix, a figure just to the right of the rightmost digit. This will be important in a moment. Let's go ahead and select the British pound, the last option in the bottom row. Let's click OK, and let's save our changes. Click anywhere outside in the gray area to deselect the box, and we can now see that it is formatted. We didn't specify a number of digits to the right of the decimal, yet 2 digits have been installed because that's the way we count currency when counting the British pound. Commas have been used to separate every 3 characters, and the symbol indicating British pound has been put in as a prefix, a symbol to the left of the leftmost digit, in this case, the number 1. Now there's a couple things I would like to demonstrate now. Go ahead and select estimated annual sales volume. Go into the properties, select number format, change it to yen, and click OK. We now see that we are still using commas to separate every 3 digits. We still see the cipher to the left of the last 2 zeros. But now the international currency symbol has moved from the prefix position on the left, where the British pound or American dollar symbol would be, and has been moved to the right, where it is now in a suffix or post position to the right of the rightmost character. However, this does not change the valuation. This is merely a label. 1,500,000 pounds and 1,500,000 yen do not have the same financial value. Changing the currency in which the number is displayed in Ninox using the formatting tool will simply put in a prefix or a suffix for the appropriate type of currency. It will not translate the contents of that field according to some valuation method on how many yen are there in a dollar, how many pesos are there in a pound, how many pounds are there in a euro. Foreign currency translation is done through formulas, and formulas are something we're going to learn about in the future video. And as long as we're here talking about labels, the same applies to these percentages. Whether you have whole numbers, in this case 23%, or fractions of a percentage, in this case 23.42%. The percentage sign is a label. It is a suffix that will appear in the rightmost position of the field. It does not change the value of the contents of the field. Let's see this in action. Click OK. Go to the toolbox on the left-hand side, add a new number field. Name this field percentage and resize it so it's exactly the same width as the address line 2 field immediately above. Click on the field label to go into the field properties and select a number format of 23%. Two digits to the left of the cipher, no digits to the right of the decimal, with the percentage sign suffix to the right of the rightmost character. Select that, click OK, click anywhere outside the red highlight to deselect the field. Now place your cursor in the data entry area save your changes, of course. Save early, save often. Now, place your cursor in the data entry area of the percentage field. It's pushed all the way to the right because we know that numeric content is always right justified, and type the digits 50 and click anywhere outside the field to accept that data entry. Ninox automatically inserted a space and a percentage sign to the right of the 0 in the number 50. Numerically speaking, 50% is 1/2. If I were to multiply 100 times this percentage, I would expect to get 50, 1/2 of 100. However, if I multiply 100 times the value in that percentage field, I'm going to get 5,000, because while the number is being presented as a percent, it is actually stored as the number with the value 50, and 50 times 100 is 5,000. So be advised, when we go in and change the numeric format of a field, that is all we are changing, the format. We call this a mask. We are changing the way it looks. But as we know, putting on a mask does not change what's underneath. 50 is still 50, whether it's a percentage, a dollar, a yen, or a pound. The number format masks the content to look the way we want it to look. But the mask merely covers what is truly in the field, which is the value that we see. In this case, 50. And that's really about it for number fields. Unlike text fields, there's only one kind. Now you can use them a variety of different ways. In this case, we used it to indicate the zip code or the mail code. The truth is, those are numeric digits, but a zip code is not a value. So that could have just as easily been a text field. If it were a text field, the content would have been pushed to the left. As a numeric field, it is pushed to the right. We used it to indicate the number of employees that work at this particular company. We estimated sales volume using different masks to change the currency indicator, but remember, the mask does not change the value of the field. And we experimented with different percentage options. We selected a percentage with no digits. We could have just as easily selected a percentage with 2 digits to the right of the cursor. So this would allow me to enter something like 50.75%, but that's not a percentage. That's 50 3/4 value. If we're doing scientific notation, I might want to stretch that out to 6 or 7 or 8 decimal places. And Ninox will do that for us also. But again, it is not changing the value. It is merely changing the appearance of the value. In this case, the additional 4 zeros were added to the right of the decimal point, but the number still has a value of 50.75. That's it for number fields. Let's save our changes and put away our wrench. Let's get out of administrative mode. Close the form, head back home to our desktop, and that's going to be it for now. In the next class, we start talking about dates and times and appointments. We start talking about the calendar as we continue to build our custom customer relationship management system in Ninox. Thanks for joining me. Come back and check out the rest of the videos, build those Ninox databases, and I'll see you soon.